Welcome, deep divers. We're taking you into a London that might feel unfamiliar. Forget the postcards, the bustling energy. Think more of a fractured city, oppressive. The air itself feels heavy, watched. Every corner, maybe a trap. Every screen blaring propaganda. But even in that silence, something's stirring. A quiet resistance, a new pulse. This is about the return of DedSec, that legendary hacker group, fighting back against Albion, the private military corps basically running the show.
It's true. London was really under the thumb of this brutal regime for a long time. Any resistance crushed quickly. The old DedSec, they've seemed to vanish, left behind ruins in this really effective smear campaign. Albion painted them as terrorists, pure and simple, made people afraid to even whisper dissent.
Right, a suffocating atmosphere. So with that backdrop, how does a group like DedSec even start again? Quietly, you said, stealthily. Today, we're unpacking those very first steps. Not a big explosion, but like a quiet decision to relight a fuse. We'll trace how that spark grew, challenging the narrative, digging up secrets buried deep in the city's foundations, how acts of courage built a network. If you're into stories about critique, conspiracy, those grim ethical choices under total control, well, this deep dive uncovers the horror, but also the quiet heroism in London's shadows. Let's get into it.
Yeah, and what's really striking is that it starts so quietly, almost like a secret passed hand to hand, that distrust of DedSec. That was a major win for Albion. Their propaganda machine was just relentless. Terrorists, criminals, you name it. It created this environment where, every move felt watched, every word a risk. You felt alone, lost in the system, really.
That kind of pressure. It must make even thinking about resistance feel dangerous. So what do our sources say about that very first move? Breaking the silence in Camden. Why so subtle?
Well, the sources describe this moment really tense. In Camden, there's this huge public screen, just pumping out Albion slogans, security through control, that kind of thing. It's like a digital cage. Constant noise. DedSec's first real strike, codenamed Light a Spark, went right for it. A new agent, moving like a ghost. Rain, slick streets, scaling walls. Silent, infiltrating the systems, controlling that screen. It wasn't about smashing things, it was surgical. Bypassing digital locks, physical security, smart moves, calculated. Holding your breath the whole time, a whisper against the storm.
And the impact must have been instant. Imagine that constant drone of propaganda just cutting out. The screen flickers, then boom. DedSec's message. A liberade comienza como un acto de coraje. Freedom begins with an act of courage. That wasn't just hacking a screen, was it? It was like punching a hole in Albion's whole narratives, their invincibility. For Londoners seeing that, it must have been a shock. Maybe the first glimmer of...
Exactly. But it wasn't just symbolic, not entirely. Right after that digital hit, the agent moved on. Nearby facility. Critical data inside? The sources paint a pretty grim picture. Guarded halls, echoing footsteps, sterile silence. You can almost feel the tension, like secrets are breathing in the walls. Again, intelligence over force. The agent gets in, recovers this crucial hard drive, and on it, proof. Hidden truths, hints of something. Darker than just surveillance. Our sources suggest maybe evidence of unethical experiments, some kind of secret biological horror happening behind the scenes. That was just the first peek under the surface, a nasty secret.
Okay, so that first spark is lit. But like you said, they'd been painted as villains. A single act isn't enough to rebuild trust, right? They needed something bigger, more public, a clearer sign they were fighting against the oppression, not just causing chaos. How did they escalate?
The escalation was, again, calculated, not reckless. They targeted a real symbol of Albion's control. King's Cross Station, not just a transport hub. The sources describe it as like the heart of Albion's operations in the area, a nexus point. Systems pulsing, feeding the control machine. The planning sounds intense. Drones for recon, mapping vulnerabilities at night, stealing detonation codes, sabotaging circuits with near-surgical precision. Every move, a deliberate act of defiance.
And the result, that explosion. Sparks and light you mentioned, that must have been incredibly dramatic against the usual gloom. It wasn't just damage, it was a signal flare, wasn't it? Telling London, someone's fighting back. For real. For a city that maybe forgot what hope looked like, that flash of light must have been huge. A jolt, making the impossible seem, well, maybe not impossible anymore.
And it worked. That spark caught fire, especially back in Camden. Whispers turning into actual talk, defiance. New people started looking towards DedSec. This public awakening was key. And the next step, really clever. Recruiting allies you wouldn't expect. The sources say DedSec started focusing on construction workers. Think about it. They're everywhere, but invisible. Hard hats, uniforms, they get access. They see the city's foundations, its guts. Unseen eyes and ears. Perfect for a hidden network.
Okay, that makes sense. But how do you gain their trust? They've heard the propaganda too. DedSec had to prove themselves, I assume.
Yeah.
One operative, already embedded, right, agreed to help if DedSec helped him first.
Yeah.
Something about a warehouse. Clan Kelly. This sounds like it gets darker.
Oh, it does. This is where the curtain really pulls back on some of the horror. Our material suggests this warehouse. It wasn't just storing boxes, it was processing people. People weren't just vanishing off the streets, they were being redirected, is the chilling term used, becoming Clan Kelly's new horrific export. Human trafficking, basically. Imagine the atmosphere in there. Silent brutality, just a horrible, quiet routine. So the agent goes in, a beacon in that darkness, trying to expose it. Cargo drones for support, tactical intel guiding the way. They infiltrated, got the data. Damning evidence, and that act, it forged a bond. That worker wasn't just helping, he was DedSec now. A desperate move to shine a light on that hidden, systematic cruelty.
Wow, okay, so the stakes are just climbing constantly. With the new ally, DedSec's getting stronger, but that means riskier moves. What came next? Intercepting data, but this time, on the move, out on the streets.
Exactly. Datos in transito, riskos imelta. Data in transit, risks high. This mission really showed their growing capability, but also the brutal cost. Picture it. A van carrying critical intel. Security drones, patrols in hot pursuit, sirens, energy blasts lighting up the night, the agents right in the middle of it trying to secure that data under fire, pure chaos. The vehicle ends up exploding. Just goes to show the danger level. But the data, secure. Survival itself is defiance at this point. Every win costs something.
And as they get stronger, the danger deepens. Which brings us to maybe the most unsettling part you mentioned, digging up the past.
Yeah.
Going beneath the surface, literally, into ruins, forgotten places. What were they looking for?
This descent, it's chilling. The agent, disguised as a construction worker, goes into these ruins and forgotten corridors, as the sources put it. It's like digging into London's hidden wounds, places Albion once forgotten, guarded places. They weren't just looking for files, they found fragments, a damaged spider-bot part, traces of old violence, lost identities, almost like ghosts in the machine. It's digging into a past the oppressors desperately need to keep buried. You can imagine the weight of it all down there in the dark.
And somehow they piece it together with augmented reality, you said, bringing the past back to life. What did they find? A kidnapping, an experiment.
Yeah, the AR reconstruction. It sounds like a nightmare brought into focus. A kidnapping, a lab, an experiment, but not clinical, painful, horrific, and then a name emerges from the fragments, Dalton Wolfe.
Dalton Wolfe, that name resonates. His final mission, his sacrifice, it all comes flooding back through these digital echoes.
Exactly. A voice from the grave, almost. The investigation followed the trail relentlessly. The damaged bot, unstable tunnels, leading closer and closer to something awful. And the trail ends at a sealed server. And on it, a voice, cold, calculating. Sabine's voice, delivering this stark revelation, a new horrifying purpose, the sheer risk involved in what they'd uncovered. This is it, the heart of the corruption, a throne built on pain presided over by figures like Mary Kelly, her empire built on silent suffering.
So let's pull back for a second. We've gone from this quiet decision, this flicker of resistance, to uncovering these deep systemic horrors. DedSec isn't just an idea anymore, is it? The sources say it transformed into, what was it? A network, a movement, an army made of forgotten names and renewed intentions.
That's it, precisely. Every new recruit isn't just another number. They represent this promise echoing through the shadows. We are not alone. We are not silent. We are everywhere. It's a declaration, an awakening fueled by the very darkness they're fighting.
Camden's awake. The flame is lit. The truth about Albion, about Clan Kelly, about Mary Kelly, it's out there now. London's starting to listen. But knowing these secrets, knowing names like Dalton Wolfe, what happens next? What power does that truth actually hold in the fight for London's soul? Seems like the struggle is far from over. Those echoes from the underground, they're only just beginning to get louder.